Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let me just take a moment and apologize for my tardiness. The vet called early this morning and they were able to get Paisley in a little earlier than anticipated, so that had to happen. And then I spent 2 hours fighting with the lighting in this room because I got a new camera. Well, it's a phone. I use my iPhone 16 Pro, but I was using a 12 mini for forever and it did just fine, but gotta upgrade everything. So hopefully I got it all figured out, messing with settings and whatnot. That being said, let's watch some stuff.
There is a document that will be entered into the congressional record today, but this is going to be the original document from the Pentagon about Immaculate Constellation that Michael Schellenberger delivered to Congress today. So thank you, Mr. Schellenberger, for this information. We are all reading it in real time now, and Mr. Burchett will enter it into the record, but 12 pages about this unacknowledged special access program that your government says does not exist.
So here's the thing. I didn't watch the congressional hearing, and I have been chomping at the bit since Wednesday. So I just grabbed a bunch of random clips and threw them together, and I am super excited to watch these for the first time with you. I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now that we have all been cautioned in this committee hearing that the mention of Pentagon's Immaculate Constellation program could put us on a list, well, I already find myself on many lists, I'm sure. So I speak my mind often, so why not just keep going with it? May as well just go all out and say it. The earth is flat, birds are government drones, and we've never set foot on the moon, and Joe Biden received 81 million votes in the 2020 election. So let's just see how many lists we could get on here today.
A lot of those topics we've discussed here on this channel, and if you like those topics, won't you hit that like button for me and consider subscribing? We can be on the list together.
Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies. For many years, I was entrusted with protecting some of our nation's most sensitive programs. In my last position, I managed a special access program on behalf of the White House and the National Security Council. As such, I appreciate the need to protect certain sensitive intelligence and military information. I consider my oath to protect secrets as sacred, and I will always put the safety of the American people first. With that said, I also understand the consequences of excessive secrecy and stovepiping. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos.
Okay, we are off to a great start. This is so exciting. I am just beside myself with this. I do have a little bit of a theory, but I'm going to save that for later. But let's keep going.
We're met with people not wanting us to have hearings. We're met with people not wanting us to ask you questions. In fact, many of us were told not to ask some of you certain questions on certain topics.
Why is that not surprising? All right, so we're going to have a congressional hearing, but there's a lot of questions you're not allowed to ask because we don't actually want the people to know the answers to them, so we're going to keep those quiet, even though we're going to reveal a bunch of stuff, but just the stuff that we want revealed.
I want to just start by just asking everyone on the panel or witnesses, and I had a chance to read all the testimony before, but just to set the agenda, just if we can go down real briefly, do you believe, just for the record, that the federal government, any part of the federal government, is knowingly concealing evidence about UAPs from the public?
Yes, sir.
100%.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. I also want to just go down the line. I know many of you have already said this, but I just, for the record again, just briefly, what do you believe UAPs could be or are?
Strong evidence that they are non-human, higher intelligence.
I echo my colleague's comment, sir.
Genuinely do not know.
Don't know, but we must find out.
Okay, thank you.
I know a lot of the reaction portion is just going to be me being super excited, but how freaking exciting is this? I know this is the second hearing, but still, I love it.
Has there been any, to your knowledge, any communication with a non-human life form?
So the term communication is a bit of a trick word because there's verbal communication like we're having now. The problem is you also have nonverbal communication. And so I would say definitively yes, but from a nonverbal meaning, when a Russian reconnaissance aircraft comes into U.S. airspace, we scramble two F-22s, and we are certainly communicating intent and capability. I think the same goes with this. We have these things that are being observed over controlled U.S. airspace, and they're not really doing a good job hiding themselves. They're making it pretty obvious they have the ability to even interfere with our nuclear equities and our nuclear readiness.
Just like that story that we covered, what was it, last week or the week before, where we watched 3 parts of it, how that creature got in there and tinkered with the nuclear things and turned it off. Yeah, they can do that.
This is an important hearing. I think we all know that there's something going on. Mr. Elizondo, based on your knowledge of UAP sightings, do you believe it's fair to say that they are especially common near nuclear sites?
Yes, sir. Mr. Congressman, I absolutely am convinced of that, as are my colleagues inside the government.
And the reason why I pose that question, and this has been one of my talking points from the beginning, is, Oak Ridge is in Tennessee. The so-called weather balloon that drifted, that we now know was controlled, it passed near Oak Ridge. It obviously is a sensitive site, both of interest to our adversaries and to whatever else this is. Because we know that at military installations, at sensitive locations, such as nuclear facilities, that we're seeing this take place. So the question is what is it? Do you believe they've caused an irregular activity, and why might they be interested in those sites?
Sir, in some cases, it's actually regular activity. You'd be surprised. There's actually documentation right now that's been submitted. It's not just Oak Ridge. It's Savannah River Site, SRS. It's also Los Alamos. A lot of our sensitive R&D locations appear to be under some sort of surveillance and monitoring. Why? Well, because a lot of innovation comes out of those areas, a lot of new technologies, a lot of, if you will, disruptive technologies that we use for our national defense originates out of those locations, and advanced concepts in physics as well. So if I was doing any type of reconnaissance, even on a foreign adversary, that's a great target to start with.
So is he like implying that the aliens are spying on us to see what we're doing with their technology, like how far we've gotten with them? Or is it other countries trying to find out how far we've gotten with our recovered alien tech? Or are other countries just looking at us after this like we are absolute lunatics? No, I don't think we're lunatics. They're totally here.
Scrubbed, the metadata can be removed. I'll show you this example here. This is a presentation from the UATP task force. This is completely absurd. It's nuts, this level of censorship, of redaction on a document. It shows the redaction of how many reports they've collected, for how many years. 2 of the 3 potential explanations are blacked out. The Pentagon, the intelligence community is treating us like children. It's time for us to know the truth about this. I think that we can handle it. Thank you very much.
So basically everything is just redacted. I really think that a good portion of us could handle hearing the truth. A lot of us already know the truth. It just needs to be confirmed from the people who have been lying. For why? Let's speculate. Why do you think they're hiding this from us?
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
Does the U.S. government have any reverse, okay, we already answered that question about retrieval programs. Do any U.S. contractors have the same?
I would prefer to address that in a closed session, ma'am.
Okay. In your book, you mentioned government employees who've been injured by UAPs, placed on leave, and receiving government compensation for their injuries. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How can the government deny we have recovered craft if they're paying people because they've been injured by recovered craft?
Ma'am, that's a great question. That's why I think we're here again, because I've seen the documentation by the U.S. government for several of these individuals who have sustained injuries as a result of a UAP incident.
So I have edited some things out to cut it down a little bit, but I've noticed that a lot of them are saying they'd like to answer that in a closed session. I'm just going to go ahead and take that as yeah.
And I understand that there's a need in some cases to keep certain technologies secret. But you believe that it is posing a threat to our personnel, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I think it's reasonable to conclude that if there's a threat to our personnel who are serving our country faithfully, that there be oversight.
100%, Congressman. And in fact, that's the one thing that we've not talked about enough during this hearing is the fact that the government executive branch not sharing with Congress what it knows about UAP infringes on your legislative and oversight responsibilities to such an extent that's very concerning. I mean, what else are we, if you look at national security or intelligence or foreign affairs or appropriations, you all have oversight and legislative responsibility regarding those. This UAP issue may be the greatest issue of our time, and it's being hid from you.
Well, I mean, and to your point, I think we've seen over the decades that we have certain adversaries like China, like Russia, that technologically speaking are not as advanced as us, that they lack some of the lethality that we have, and that we've seen that they've gone after our technologies and in some cases succeeded, in particular with missile technology. And so again, my concern, whether this technology emanates from us or otherworldly, that we know that we possess it. And where's the accountability? Where are the stopgaps? What are the guarantees that if this were to fall in enemy hands, that it isn't immediately weaponized against us? And I'll say this, it is clear from my experience and what I've seen that there is something out there. The question is it ours? Is it someone else's? Or is it otherworldly? And Madam Chairman, I would posit that as the legislative body, as the regulatory body, we must know. And anyone who prevents us from gaining access to that information, I would consider that criminality. Because we have U.S. personnel who may very well be in harm's way. We have technology that ultimately may threaten our very existence. With that, Madam Chairman, I thank you for your indulgence, and I yield back.
I was hoping that question was going to get answered. Unfortunately, it didn't in this clip, but we've got more to go. And he made a very valid point. A lot of people are at danger because we have this technology that they don't know about. And whose is it? So hopefully we'll find out. If not, I'm just going to sit down and watch the whole thing.
I am here today to speak out for science. Science requires data, which should be collected without bias or prejudice. Yet, whenever the topic of UAP arises, those who wish to explore the phenomena are often confronted with resistance and ridicule. For example, members of the NASA UAP independent study team, particularly those in academia, were mocked and even threatened for simply having the temerity to engage in the study of UAP. Our best tool for unlocking the mystery of UAP is science, but we cannot conduct a proper inquiry if the stigma is so overwhelming that just daring to be part of a NASA research team elicits such a vitriolic response. Therefore, one of the most important actions that can be taken relative to exposing the truth of UAP is to combat the stigma. And this is where I believe that NASA can be eminently helpful.
NASA can absolutely be helpful because, hello, they're in space. But he talked about the stigma, and you know when there are people that speak out and they're like, hey, this is going on, they automatically get branded as crazy or discredited for one reason or another, and it's got to stop.
Last year, as you know, he testified that the U.S. has run a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Are there UAP programs operating without proper congressional oversight?
100%.
What are they?
Unfortunately, sir, I would have to have that conversation in a closed session.
I know you said that, and a lot of people are frustrated with those kind of answers, but we're asking those kind of questions so you all know what the heck we're up against.
There's that freaking answer again. It's so annoying because they're like, oh, here's this information and that information and this other information. But then there's some little bits that they just won't tell you. It's annoying.
And we have a lot more questions, and I hope that this will open the door to more hearings in the future. I obviously would like to know how much taxpayers are spending on this. You have the right to know, but also if we're spending money on something that doesn't exist, why are we spending the money? And if it does exist, why are we hiding it from the public?
That's got to be the best question that I've heard so far in this entire episode. If the taxpayers are paying for it, shouldn't we know about it? I mean, the government wouldn't lie to us or anything, would they?
Mr. Elizondo, did I have that correct?
Sir.
I'm a recovering lawyer, so I'm going to put my hat on for a second. You said you signed a document. Love that. Who gave that to you?
The U.S. government, sir.
Okay, you have a copy of it?
It is stored in the SCIF right now. I do not have possession of it. The U.S. government does.
What department of the U.S. government gave you this document?
I will say the Department of Defense. Unfortunately, I can't say in this forum much more than that.
You specifically said the document said you can't talk about crash retrieval. Well, you can't talk about Fight Club if there's no Fight Club.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just making an observation.
Yes, sir.
So that document that you signed, that you said exists, specifically said you can't talk about crash retrieval.
Correct, sir. It was a limitation on because already I'd been speaking publicly about the topic. And so the document said you can continue saying X, Y, Z, but you cannot discuss the topic.
When give me the atmosphere of signing this document. You're in a room by yourself?
I'm in a SCIF with a security officer, sir.
Just one-on-one? Anybody else?
There may have been an assistant as well. It was in a SCIF within a Department of Defense facility.
Give me your background real quick.
My background is I went to school to study microbiology and immunology, entered into the U.S. Army, and after a very short stint in military intelligence, I became a counterintelligence special agent. As a civilian, later on I became a special agent in charge, running investigations in counterterrorism and counterespionage primarily, with some experience in counterinsurgency and counter-narcotics. And then in 2009 timeframe, when I came back to the Pentagon after a tour with the Director of National Intelligence, I quickly became part of a program that was originally called OSAP that evolved into the program now called ATIP, which is where those videos that we now see, the Go Fast, the Gimbal, the FLIR, that was part of our effort, sir.
So basically a confirmation. We've talked about Project Kona Blue and how it was a suggestion and it got pulled, and that was to recover and reverse engineer crashed alien craft. And they're like, oh no, that never happened. And now there's Immaculate Constellation, but they're not allowed to talk about it, just like he said. You wouldn't be not allowed to talk about Fight Club if there was no Fight Club. That's fantastic.
In the discussions, it's simply about material, or is there discussion about it was previously testified that there's biologics that were collected. Are you aware of any of that?
I am, sir, aware of the reporting that biologics have been recovered. Again, my focus was more nuts and bolts, looking at the physical aspects of these phenomenon, how they interacted around military equities and nuclear equities. So I'm certainly not a medical expert. I would not be able to probably provide you a whole lot of value in that simply because I don't have the expertise.
But was anything described as that we have possession of bodies?
Yes, yes.
We have is it multiple types of creatures, or?
Sir, I couldn't answer that. I can tell you anecdotally that it was discussed quite a bit when I was at the Pentagon. The problem is the supposed collection of these biological samples occurred before my time, in fact, before I was even born.
And was
Oh yeah, they've totally got bodies.
There is a growing body of evidence that the U.S. government is not being transparent about what it knows about unidentified anomalous phenomena, and that elements within the military and the IC are in violation of their constitutional duty to notify Congress of their operations. President-elect Donald Trump and former President Barack Obama have both said that the government has information about UAPs that it has not released.
You don't say.
There are other explanations for UAPs than that they represent a new form of life or non-human life. Current dominant alternative theories, including those put forward by Arrow, are that UAPs are some kind of natural phenomena we don't yet understand, like ball lightning or plasma. They could also be part of some new U.S. or foreign government weapons programs, such as drones, aircraft, balloons, CGI, hoaxes, or birds. Whatever UAPs are, Congress must be informed, as must the people of the United States. We have a right to know what UAPs are, no matter what they are.
Now, I have never heard of that theory that they are a new form of life that we are unaware of. That's interesting to me. I had never considered that. I just like aliens so much. I like them being from other planets. I think that's way cooler. But to be a new form of life from or of our planet, that's incredible.
The report to Congress details in detail various UAPs, including spheres, orbs, disks, saucers, ovals, triangles, boomerang, arrowhead, and irregular organic. The report describes various incidents found in the human intelligence databases. One involved orbs surrounding and forcing an F-22 out of its patrol area. In another incident, the crew of a Navy aircraft carrier watched a small orange-red sphere rapidly descend from a high altitude of 100 to 200 yards directly above the flight deck of the CVN, or aircraft carrier. And since my reporting on this immaculate constellation last month, another source came forward who told me that they saw a roughly 13-minute-long, high-definition, full-color video of a white orb UAP coming out of the ocean approximately 20 miles off the coast of Kuwait. It was filmed from a helicopter. Then halfway through the video, the person said the orb is joined by another orb that briefly comes into the frame from the left before rapidly moving again out of the frame. The person discovered the video on SIPR, the Secure Internet Protocol Router Network, which the DoD uses to transmit classified information. A leading UAP researcher who utilizes the Freedom of Information Act to find out what the government knows, John Greenwald, told me last year that the U.S. government had been increasingly denying his requests for UAP information. He has been doing FOIA requests for 27 years and has an archive of 3 million pages. The government has for decades denied any interest in UFOs, he told me, but the documents that he has assembled show that behind the scenes it was a completely different story. Contrary to the hopes of many advocates of transparency, the government has been restricting more information since the leak of 3 UAP videos in 2017. The DoD organization AARO has been labeling many documents with a B7 exemption, which Greenwald says does not make any sense.
I personally have never seen a UFO or a UAP that I'm aware of, but I know people who have, and these are people that I trust. My dad, he saw one when he was younger and it was like round and then it came out to a point, kind of like on that movie Flight of the Navigator, but it was a little more elongated. And my husband and my son were together and they saw a silver orb. And I don't ever question silver orbs, you know that. And then my good friend, Mr. E, recently saw one that was like cigar-shaped and it was zooming all over the place. These are people that I trust, and these are 3 different types of craft that they have seen. So yeah, I don't doubt that there's multiple kinds of UFO UAPs going on out there. All right, let's get into my theory and then we're going to wrap it up for today. I believe that this is controlled release of information. Just like happened way back when, the government decided that specific information could be released to the people while the government continued to deny everything else. Well, deny everything altogether, really, because they were not confirming that stuff that they were allowing to be released. And then the people became more comfortable with the fact that there may be aliens because they're hearing from this person and that person that there are. Then the government comes out and completely confirms it. Yes, there are UFOs, there are UAPs. They had to change the name for why, I don't know. But now people are like, okay, the government has confirmed that there are these things going on. And now it's even more. They're confirming it even more. And it's to prepare us for Project Bluebeam, because now the people are just like comfortable with the fact that the government is coming out and telling us these things are here. They're here to prepare us for what's next. Now, I understand that I'm presenting contradicting theories because if that is true, then it would totally negate my belief in aliens. And you all know how much I love aliens. I totally believe they're here. They're doing stuff for why I don't know. Hopefully one day we'll find out. But I'm okay with contradicting theories.
Thank you, Mr. Moskowitz. And I would now, committee staff asked me to go ahead and I will do it, to enter into the congressional record this 12-page document that Michael Schellenberger brought today that describes the Immaculate Constellation government program. So we will do that now. Every member up here has a copy of it. The first section talks about the unacknowledged special access program called Immaculate Constellation. And the second section about USG imagery intelligence. And Representative Luna just told me if I say Immaculate Constellation, I'll be on some list. Maybe a FISA warrant. So come at me, bro, I guess.
She said, "Come at me, bro." Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'm going to have to go and watch the entire thing because there are bits and pieces that my brain is just craving. So I'm going to go find out how the whole thing went. I hope you enjoyed yourself today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Come on back in a couple days. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things. It's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.